Hey guys, it's Julio. Welcome to SideTech. Thank you guys for coming to my channel. And today we're actually going to be doing a little test with the car. As you guys are aware, I got a Tesla Model 3 Long Range Plus rear-wheel drive. To sum it up, I got the lowest tier, which means that this car can only do about 250 miles of range. So that was the biggest dilemma with getting this car. Either getting it with 250 miles or going the tier higher to getting 320 miles. But regardless, it was lower priced than the higher tier one. So I ended up just getting this car and I was okay with it. But the miles haven't been exactly what they seem so far. So I did about a 60-mile trip in this car. On the freeway I was doing about 75-80 miles per hour and it was about 104 degrees, so I had the AC on full blast. However, what I lost from the battery, it says that I lost about 100 miles. So that means that 40 miles was used for the AC and for not driving economically as I should. So with that makes me question if I really got the right car. If I would have continued, this car is ranged for 250 miles. If I would have continued driving that way, that means I would have done only 150 miles, which is way lower than what I anticipated. So today, since I was going to take this car to San Diego to get it modified, I thought it was a perfect opportunity to test this out. So from here to San Diego, it's 107 miles, meaning that round trip's 214 miles. Technically, my car should be able to make it since it's ranged for 250 miles. Also, I live in the Los Angeles area, meaning that going down to San Diego, I'm gonna be using a lot of regen to get some electricity back, but that means coming back up, that's where it's just not gonna get almost any regeneration and I'm gonna use most of the miles. And also, just to be safe, the shop where I'm gonna take this car to, they agreed they were gonna let me charge there. So I should be able to make it back, but I'm gonna use the calculations to see if I wouldn't be able to charge, if I would be able to make it back home. So my goals for trying to do this trip and being economical is driving about 65-70 miles per hour. If in case it hits traffic, that'll be better. I mean, worse for me, but the car won't be using as much electricity and it'll be regenerating most of the time. So if I do hit traffic, that's where it'll be most economical. But yeah, that range from 65 to 70 is going to be my goal. Also, my goal is to not use the AC this time, but it is getting kind of hot already, so we'll see about that. But yeah, other than that, that's about it. So let's go test this car out.
Ice in my veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day, I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capped in space. I won't stop till I hear him say,
Air sound test. You can still hear me. I do hear the road, I hear the bumps. I do hear wind, but it just sounds like regular car wind, so nothing to complain there.
I got tired eyes, need a cup of blend. That's right, in the AM, that's my only friend. No light, just the sun coming up on the horizon. I lose track of time, yeah, I move fast and climb.
Hey guys, so just wanted to give a quick heads up. So far I've been driving, the window's been a little bit down. But I've been driving at 65-70 miles per hour. No AC so far, it's getting kind of hot though. But my projected just said 251 miles while I've been driving already for 15 miles. So that's already pretty good indicator. It is going downhill though, but you know, we'll just keep going and seeing what happens. so as you can see, I put the window up. I was talking to my parents real quick, and because of that, I turned on my AC, so you know, I wouldn't be like dying inside. And something happened. This little part is where I turned on the AC. And that little part just killed my battery for the little moment. And now I'm down to 222 miles projected range, which is exactly what it says right now. So everything I had gained from being good is kind of lost from the AC. So just wanted to point that out right now. But I have driven 25 miles so far, so that's good. Alright guys, so I just got to the place. I made it back with 136 miles. So that means I did about 114 miles. The trip was 107, so I did 7 more miles than I should have, which is a little bit concerning considering I was going south. I should have been regenerating, but I wasn't. So we'll see on the trip back. And actually, I only was driving for about 105 miles with 208 watt hours per mile. So I should be able to make it back. On the energy, it ranged. So sometimes it went up higher, sometimes lower. It depended on how the terrain was. Other times I was on the phone and I had to turn on the AC. But it says that my projected range is 149. But again, that's coming downhill. So I know going back up, that's going to change. So we'll see how it is. But I actually expected a lot better going down. So fun, fun, fun. Alright guys, so it's about a week later and the job's already done. I'll show you guys that a little bit later, but this is still the range test, so let's check out what I have so far. So if you guys remember before, I arrived with 136 miles. They did help me out to charge it just in case to make sure that I arrive home, but we're still going to calculate it to make sure if I would have made it not charging here. So that means right now I have 229 miles. If we take what I had before and subtract and stuff, that means that I should arrive home before the 93 miles. If I get lower than 93 miles, I wouldn't have made it. So let's go ahead and put it to the test. Hey guys, so we are in line for In-N-Out with the AC on. I don't know how much that will impact me, but hopefully I still should be able to make it home. We'll see. Hey guys, so fortunately we did make it back. We had enough electricity just because the guy let us borrow some electricity while I was at the shop. But I do want to talk about some stuff that happened. So the weather was a little bit off because it was more than 100 degrees. So that meant that I was using the AC on for most of the time coming back. So that means there was more electricity used for the trip. And then additionally, there was also a trip that we took in San Diego So it's not going to be the exact 214 miles that was previously calculated, but that's just how trips are. You always have to take into account something might happen to where you might have to drive more. So this is a real life scenario to see if the Long Range Plus Tesla Model 3 would have made it. So let's dig into the numbers. So the car started with 250 miles. When I got to the place, it said that I had 136 miles left. So technically, I used the electric miles of 114 miles. The trip was 105 miles, so that means I used 9 more electric miles than I should have. And that's why I was a little bit concerned, because going downhill, I should have been regenerating more. I should have actually had more battery than what was previously speculated, but it didn't do that, so that's why I got kind of worried, but we'll take that into account later. Let's go on to the next part. Okay, so then like I mentioned before, luckily the guy did charge the car. When I got the car, it said that I had 229 miles of range. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off the amount that I had previously and see if I would have made it. So the 229 miles minus the 136 miles that I started with, I would technically make it back home if I would arrive before hitting 93 miles. So that means if I would have arrived with 92 miles, I wouldn't have made it. If I would have arrived with 94 miles, I would have had 1 mile left. So what actually happened is, starting off with 229 miles, I got back home with 64 miles. Meaning that I used about 165 electric miles. So that shows that I wouldn't have made it because I was supposed to get here with 93 miles or above. I got here with 64, so I used about 30 miles or so extra that I shouldn't have. But that's also taking into account that extra part of the trip that I did. On the way back, I actually did 130 miles compared to the 105 miles that I did on the way over there. So then, is it safe to say that from the extra 25 miles that I drove, I used up 51 electric miles? No, I can't use that phrase. The reason why is if I put that into the math, then it'll just calculate back to using the same amount of electricity on the way over there to on the way back. And that's not the case. Why? Because going downhill should be using less electricity than going uphill. In addition, I was using a lot more AC on the way back than I was over there. So that's not the case, so we can't say that. So we know that I wouldn't have made it on the way back with that extra drive that I did, but if we would calculate the average electricity that I used on the way back over here, trying to take away those miles, let's do it. So if we divide the 165 electric miles that I used divided by the 130 miles that I actually drove, it comes out to 1.27, meaning that for every mile that I drove, I was using 1.27 electric miles. And then if you use that to multiply back into the 105 miles that I originally used, it comes out to 133 electric miles that this car would have used if I was to drive only 105 miles. Sorry guys, the light did go out from the sun, so I am using a little small light that I have right here, but let's continue. So if we take the 133 miles we just calculated, and we add the 114 electric miles that I used on the way over there, adding both of them together comes out to 247 miles. This car is rated for 250 miles, so technically yes, I would have made it with 3 miles left. Oh my god, the range anxiety. But that's not such a good victory that I thought I would have gotten. If my house was 1 mile extra farther away from the place that I went to in San Diego, then that means the distance would be 106 miles. Adding a mile to each way, that's 2 miles. The way I was driving, it was 1.26 electric miles per mile. So putting that factor into the equation, it would have been more than 3 miles. So I wouldn't have been able to make it if I lived a little more than a mile away from where I am now. And that's taking into account I was driving all the time over there, going below 70 miles per hour. And also while it was hot, I didn't have the AC on, trying to be conservative. So it's not the type of drive you want to do, especially right now with this type of temperature. Maybe if it was a little bit cooler, it would be better. If there was more traffic where I would be stopping more, it would be better. But for right now, I can't say that that's such a good victory, especially taking that detour. It was a lot farther than what I would have gone. So I'm thankful that they were able to charge for me. And now I know in the future that this car, even though I charge it to the full, won't be 250. Maybe it'll be about 200 miles or so, less if you have the AC on the entire time, less if you're driving faster, less if you're driving somewhere else farther. So definitely take that into consideration. But other than that, yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for joining. If you like this video, even though there wasn't much light right now, please subscribe and like this video. And hopefully we'll do another test that I can actually test a little bit more theoretically and actually use superchargers. Alright, other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!